Got one of those old Betty Davis movies on. I love Betty Davis. If you didn't know that about me, she's one of my all-time favorite actresses. Married twice. I believe she had two children. Divorced twice as well. Often smokes in her movies. Well, you could do that back in those days. I don't know. Do they vape in the movies these days? I think it was might have been a settlement with Big Tobacco, how you can't smoke on TV and stuff. But I think they still do sometimes, like on like Law and Order and stuff. Don't you see sometimes people smoking? You know, there's a lot of worse things you could be doing out there. Anyway, excuse my big gulp. So, anywho, I almost watched The Omen last night, like late, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I really want to do. I don't really want to do that to myself right now. So we'll see as the storms progress in my area if it gets stormy enough that I want to dip into a revisit of with Gregory Peck and Lee Remick, that version of The Omen. Okay, I think they remade it, didn't they, in the 2000s, 2010s, something like that, which I never saw that version. Seeing the first original once was enough for me. Uh, I was also watching a video. I can't remember the name of the creator, but I mean, he has like a lot of views, a lot of subscribers. And it was about a real life case of a man who his wife wanted a divorce from him. He ended up getting, I believe, tried and convicted for her death. And one of the things he was doing, he was going on Fiverr. If you guys have heard of Fiverr, I've actually used Fiverr before for design uh, design resources. Independent graphic design. Anyway, um, and apparently there's people that do spell work on Fiverr, and he was soliciting these people on Fiverr to do spell work against his wife because she wanted this divorce. Um, she's now no longer here, and now their three children don't have a father that's free because he's in jail for doing all these things against her that helped cause her uh, unaliving. Please show your nail polish. I'm not wearing any nail polish. I don't often wear nail polish. Sometimes I use toe polish, but I don't usually do my nails like that. Anyway, I really had I would think like maybe Etsy, I could see, some of that, but I didn't know that Fiverr was loaded with some of this stuff. And, as a lot of the readers, the good readers out on YouTube and stuff will tell you, it's like, you need to wish, part of where Jesus was turning the other cheek, it's to say, you know what, I'm not going to deal with that. Okay. And I wish that person healing and to get better. Right. Whereas some people can't walk away, like this dude. He wasn't wanting to let his wife walk away from their marriage. So, he went to extreme circumstances, and then literally that spell work that he hired backfired on him, and now he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail without his children, without ever seeing his wife again. you know um so when you hear people talk about spell work and stuff, there's actually people out there that do that. What I'm doing is not spell work. Is not witchcraft, you know what I mean? I'm just a reader. I do use cards and things of that nature, but I'm not doing weird spells over people. And do you know what I mean? It's like there's a whole world of people that are doing that, and that is demonic activity. That is bad juju. That's putting bad juju out there. If you don't know what juju is, right? Anyway, so today is also the summer solstice, if you didn't know. Okay. So that's one part why I wanted to do a reading today. Message held for review, held for review, another one held for review. I will never see it unless I take the time out from everybody else that actually wants to get into the reading, which I'm not going to do. So, Justice card, look at that. Yeah. So, if anybody was trying to do that, hire somebody to work against you. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, why was he trying to do this so bad? I mean, it just didn't make sense because he couldn't let go. You know, again, this is Libra, but the Justice card, the arm of the law does catch up to these people eventually. And the people that he enlisted to try and help him, I don't know if they're going to go after them too. I mean, I don't know, exactly what their role is, but at a certain point, libel and slander, those are prosecutable offenses. And people be out there running their mouths thinking they're going to get away with stuff, and it's like, you keep doing that, you keep printing that, and then somebody is going to try and take you down because legally they're crossing that line. You know what I mean? So it's like when the blowback happens and all those people are like, oh, they're shutting me down. It's like, yeah, well, what were you doing? So anyway. Nine of Cups. So, and I think the guy who made the video, the content creator, he's like, I had no idea this was going on. And me as somebody who's a reader, like I didn't know that was going on either, because I don't participate in that kind of stuff, but some people do. In the chat there, this is a general reading, okay? All right. So, Nine of Cups, collective, staying healthy, happy, being grateful, like, and I think that's what that woman was trying to do. She was trying to count her blessings and obviously get away from that toxic situation that ended up, unfortunately, with her losing her life in the situation. Because her husband couldn't admit defeat. You know what I mean? For a lot of people, it's like, oh, it's like they have to have some public excuse to tell everybody. But he thought it was going to be easier to, like, get rid of her. It's like, huh? Yeah, Five of Pentacles, collective. Sometimes there's people that if you're in this kind of situation where you feel like in the cold or something, there's people that wanted to put you there, right? And part of that is because they have some serious mental distresses of their own that are unhealed. It really has nothing to do with you. That woman who died, that's an innocent person, okay? And it's like, oh yeah, but she did this in the marriage and she did that in the marriage. You know what? That happens a lot too. Whatever she did or didn't do, right? If she didn't have dinner ready, right? Tell that. You know what I mean? Because there's people that go around talking like that and think that that's the thing. They think they're the thing like that. I'm telling you. And there's religions that promote that too. That's why there's people that get on here and harass my channel, because it goes against their, rule of, you know what I mean? Knight of Swords. Okay, so collective, there might be somebody who's kind of, I wouldn't say rushing towards you to show you this justice, but definitely somebody who sees the smoking gun. It's like these people, it's like this dude that got caught. I mean, his internet searches were how to, do all these evil, horrible things. And then he found people on the internet, literally on Fiverr of all places. I don't know if Fiverr is a publicly traded company, but that's pretty scary. That those people are running around operating, AKA legitimate businesses by what? harassing other people, gang stalking other people, that is illegal. So, they had it all written out there on the ledger. The smoking gun was there. Okay, I'll see if I can't link this story in the description because it'll be in my watch history. And I didn't watch the entire thing because I don't need to hear about how demented that dude is. But the gist of it is, he was trying to make her, and unfortunately, he got his wish. But I mean, what? Does he think his kids are going to thank him later for that? Like, what? Do you know what I mean? It's like, why? These people have serious problems. And he's going to get to find that out while he's sitting in jail. Realizing that, you know what? But, sometimes I think some of these people, they do these things so that they can go into jail. You guys ever see Back to the Future? Right? When they're talking about Uncle Joey behind, and they're like, we just leave him in the playpen. We think he likes it in there better, right? And then Michael J. Fox's character is like, you better get used to these bars, buddy. Because he knows that, later in life, his Uncle Joey is a jailbird. That's the life some people want, and they will do whatever it takes in order to get them that life. Instead of just leaving people alone. Because they don't want to actually admit what they want. I don't think you have to read between the lines, but you might see between the cheeks, if you know what I mean. Vern. Who was that guy that always just say that? You know what I mean, Vern? Was that oh my gosh. I cannot think of his name at the moment. But I don't know why. I think him and John Cena kind of have a similar look about him, because they're both comedic actors. I can't think of the guy's name, but he's a comedy actor that would say, I know what I mean, Vern. Anyway, he had a character name and then, obviously his real acting name. Hello there in the chat. Page of Wands. Yeah, somebody might have a message for you. You might be encouraged to be listening for messages, just so that you can see and understand that, the Nine of Cups is at your beck and call. It's how you choose to move forward. It's not about everybody else. Sometimes it's like, okay, if you had to do all over again and if you had all the safety net in the world, what would you do? Right? Because a lot of people, they put those limitations in their brain because they think, oh, well, I don't. And see, that's what this Five of Pentacles. Thinking, oh, I don't have enough. I can't dream that big. How would I ever accomplish that? Take all that. You got to take all that stuff out when you're doing your brainstorming activity. Okay? So, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, allow yourself just to kind of dream. Allow yourself just to kind of, and some people can do that through journaling. I think some people call it, like, an official name for it, call it scrying, but in school we just call it brainstorming. You just start jotting stuff down. And it doesn't have to make sense, right? That's what brainstorming is about. Okay? And then once you start, like, going back and, like, looking at those messages, you're like, okay. You know what I mean? And sometimes you'll look there and say, oh, well, that's something that I could actually accomplish even in my, page, element. Like, especially if people think, like, you're not developed enough, you're not well-known enough. You know what I mean? When they're always like, oh, well, nobody knows who you are, so no, we can't do that. Even though you have loads of experience, even though you have this and that, but you don't know their sister's husband's ex-girlfriend, right? So you're not going to get it, basically. Like, oh, I see. You know what I mean? And sometimes once you understand that, it kind of takes the pressure off, doesn't it? Right. Because some of these people, they wanted you barking up that tree. They wanted you barking up that tree till the day is long. Okay? You know? And sometimes people will be like, yeah, why does anybody want to watch that? Why does anybody like, well, sometimes it's because, I mean, in Hollywood, they talk about, the Nepo babies, right? Because there's, a whole second, third generation of people in Hollywood, right? That doesn't mean those people can't contribute, but refusing to acknowledge certain things can put you in a trap of thinking that you know that you're creating it, and it's like, well, I thought this was what I was supposed to be doing, right? But once you learn some things about the situation, then you can start to unravel it, and then you can see it's like, yeah, I can take that off, I can take that away, kind of like clearing out, like there was some video of some lady clearing her clutter out of the closet. Think of it that way, right? It's like, well, I already talked to these 20 places, and none of them wanted to work with me, so I'm crossing them off the list, so I can take that off. And then there's the folks over here. So not only the places of business, there's not at least 20 of those. Then there's at least like 40 to 50 individuals that didn't want to work with me, right? That have worked with me before, had no complaints, never received a negative review, blah, blah, blah. All this kind of stuff. This is how when I separated from the corporate world, and it's like I never had a bad review ever until that stuff happened at the end. I was on all sorts of teams. People wanted me on their Six Sigma projects. Okay. People who, oh, well, she must have done. No, actually, I passed the state background check to go substitute teach in my state. So you can put that to the side as well, of accusations, right? You know what I mean? It's like they wanted you barking up that tree thinking these 20 people are the people who can bestow their benevolence on you. These 40 to 50 people, they're the real tastemakers who can, you know what I mean? And it's like, once you start taking that and thinking of it as clutter, and taking the guilt out of the situation, taking the memory out of the situation, like that woman was saying about cleaning outside. She's like, yeah, you spent money on it, yeah, you have a fantasy of what it was supposed to be. You got to do the same thing with some of these situations, right? Vision Goddess Tarot is when it always, people, places, or things that are no longer useful for you. Taking that bandage off. And then what happens? What's under here? The ever unfolding rose. So, collective, I think that's why you have this now. I think this is a 9, this is an 8. So, this is where how they wanted you to look. Be like, oh no, she's not ready for that. Oh no. According to who? According to who? According to the senator that died in office going for his 8th, 9th, 10th term that the founding fathers probably never intended, because people only lived to be 40 years old, 45 years old, 50 years old to begin with. Recognize the power grab where it's at, man. All right. Some things are just basic facts. And look, so what if they want you to be an outsider? Tom Petty wrote a great song called, okay, look it up. Look it up. Okay. So, all right. And again, some of this is that smoking gun, where it's like, yeah, the collective never had a bad review, so how come that did happen like that? And what's happening now, collective, is people are seeing it, and sometimes it's in black, white, and red all over. by people who understand what that was trying to do. Just like that dude who's now going to be serving the rest of his life behind bars. So I'm not saying it's that extreme in your case, collective. I'm just saying with the overall energy, they're not going to get away with it. Some people might call that a trick of the devil. Some people might just call that poor planning on their part. Some people might call it sheer stupidity and ignorance. They'll be like, oh, I was possessed by a demon. Oh, okay, whatever. Anyway. Do you know how? You know, it's like, is everyone going to try and use the exorcism excuse here? I mean, you know, at what point, okay, again, going back to that movie, The Omen, you know, Damien never wanted to act right. You know, at what point are you going to act right and say, that's not the path I want to be on? La da 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 da. Okay. High Priestess here. What's that song? Lady in red is dancing with me, cheek to cheek. Somebody might be dancing with somebody in jail, but it ain't gonna be a lady, and I don't know what kind of cheek. Anyway. King of Pentacles on the underside of the deck. So, collective, there's a very strong masculine energy in your presence if you are not this masculine yourself. Okay. The name of the Betty Davis movie I'm watching right now is called Another Man's Poison. So I might have to restart it here when I'm done with the reading because I just, you know, not super, obviously not paying attention to two things at once like that. So let's get some clarification cards from the Rider-Waite. Again, this is a collective reading, okay? So if it doesn't resonate with you today, don't sweat it. It's just not your message, right? And there's lots and lots of other readers out there who do give collective messages. And a lot of them will say, you know, look, I'm giving you the message I'm directed to give you, not what you want to hear. And the dude that was soliciting people on Fiverr, he was trying to get people to tell him what he wanted to hear. Right? And sure enough, I'm sure there's people out there, right, collective? You can go out in the public and start gossiping with this person and gossiping with that person. And I mean, if you make the story good enough, you're going to tell them something that they want to hear, right? And then you got them on your side, right? Mm-hmm. But when the story starts falling apart, right, when that smoking gun hits, oh, message is in. We got to wipe the slate clean. The collective's not involved. Oh. And what else happens? The long arm of the law. Front and center saying, you know what? I'm cutting through the crap today. Right? And that dude went to jail. He was sitting there with a mask on in the courtroom. Like he's really concerned about his health. That's part of why I couldn't even watch. You know what I mean? It's just like the energetic. Because you can see it in his eyes. I mean, the dude's already convicted. So anyway. My dog's laying down. We went through a drive-through earlier, and the gal was just so. She's like, "Oh, is that a German Shepherd?" She's like, or you know, she's like, you asking questions, being nice and stuff. And she's like, "Can I? Is he friendly?" I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, and you could tell he was like, he was, she kind of gave him a little, you know what I mean? And he was just like digging the extra attention, you know what I mean? So I think she's a dog. I think she likes dogs. Some people are not so friendly to dogs. That's fine. And he's a big boy. So, like I told her, he's over 100 pounds. So he's a little intimidating. Star card, Aquarius, another air sign here, right? With the Libra. Okay. So, you know, in this fairness collective, you're going to be able to do what you've been guided to do, right? Aquarius is usually the one kind of labeled as the off kilter one, or beats to the steps to the beat of their own drum, right? Well, if you're supposed to lead into the great beyond and do something that's not been done before, which that Aquarian energy beckons that, right? It's being your special little snowflake. It's being that star energy, right? It's dreaming beyond what somebody else has, right, placed for you to be their puppet, right? I got no strings to hold me down, to make me fret, make me frown. I was lost, but now I'm free. You got no strings on me. Hi ho, yeah. Hey ho. No, just kidding. But some people will talk to you like that. That's why there's a lot of criticism in music and the messages of music and stuff, right? When I was in my younger years, some of the guys thought I was cute and be like, "Hey, wench, get me a beer." So you know what? When I was in college and I was a bartender, and then when somebody said that to me, it was like, that's not the first time I've said that, but he's much older, and I guess men don't change much. At least those kind don't. Sugar, honey, right? Ain't no way to get some sugar from me, I can tell you that much. Right? And then they don't even hardly tip you. Right? It's like they think you're going to be on that side over there slobbering their little thing or something. It's like, I'm here to work, you're here to drink. Like, it should be a pretty straightforward exchange, right? Unless they're trying to get something else. Sorry, somebody I know that works in the industry just posted some. It was hilarious. It said, "Why should I try dating when I can go on my shift?" They work in the industry, service industry. Go on my shift and see 7 bad dates happening at once. You know what I mean? Because sometimes that happens, and that's why people are like, and that's why I stay home. Because when you go out, right, you run into the couple that's arguing and fighting. You end up by the couple that don't even talk to each other, and or you end up like by the couple who it's like, you see one, it's like they never, it's like they're not even spending time together. Like one's off doing this, and it's like, wow. Yeah, these couples don't exactly have it all together, do they? Right? Or you hear the BS stories, and it's like, oh my god. I mean, I've been in taverns before, and I've overheard people talking about their significant other, telling all their business, in a tavern and stuff, and it's like, man, you're pretty loose with the information. And then it kind of makes you wonder, it's like, why is that person with that person? Is it so that they can brag on them? Is it because of those things that they possess? That gets them all excited to be in a relationship because, yeah. Don't underestimate the power of Mercury retrograde. Oh, remember when we had it so great? Well, I remember when you had it pretty good, but I don't remember it being very great for me, so I'm going to have to pass. Again, going back to those 20 businesses that didn't even want to answer my call or talk to me at all, even though we had prior relationship that was up until then, right? Kind of like if, at my corporate job, up until then in good standing. That's right. And then you have the 40 to 50 individuals, right? We're like, you know, they're too good for it too. So, what do you do, collective? What do you do? What would that Aquarius do? Right? Well, you just have to keep going on your own. Right? Jesus went on his own. It was the apostles, it was the disciples that followed him. Okay. Queen of Swords, again, air signs, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. Some people would be like, oh, well, you can't be happy by yourself. You can't be happy, you know, in this kind of detached kind of energy. And some people are like, watch me. Watch me. Right? Because guess what? I don't have to be over here trying to impress all these people that don't ever want to give me a chance, right? And I don't have to be over here trying to impress all these people that already know I'm the shiznit, but they don't want to work with me, right? You know what I'm saying? This is about building your own brand, collective. It's not about what those other people have to say. And as we know, the smoking gun, because trust me, the Queen of Swords is not going to be signing some contract on hearsay, right? I remember I was working with some musicians once, and they wanted me to join their group, and I went over there for a practice, and I mean, we were like, you know, already into the practice and stuff, and I was like, so are we gonna talk about how you invited me to join your group, or is that something you're not wanting to talk about anymore? And he was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like some people will put that conversation off just so you can, you know what I mean? Be in that state of confusion, be in that state of, oh, well, maybe I need to do more so that they can accept me. More of what? It's like you already invited me, so, right? Yeah, magician. Again, Mercury energy, the communication. You are not shying away from the communication, collective. They wanted you to shy away from it. You are not. And, you know, in some cases, the communication is documented. There are receipts. Again, the smoking gun. So there could even be somebody that wants to come in and tell you something, collective, like, oh, I heard so and so say this and blah blah, and collective, you might just be looking at them like, that doesn't surprise me. Because they're the type that would get onto that website and look up weird stuff like that. I mean, I feel bad for the other people on Fiverr because I've worked with some people on Fiverr that I thought were all right. You know what I mean? It's not, sometimes you know, when you're just doing online communication, sometimes it's hard to get your designs fully understood by the designer and stuff, but there were certain things where it was just like more like task oriented, and I was able to get that accomplished, you know, where I knew they probably had some, you know, techniques that they knew on the back of their hand versus me having to research, look it up, do it myself, right? And again, collective, that's something that these people wanted you. They wanted you in that feeling of lack. Oh, nobody's gonna work with me. All these doors over here are closed. All they did, collective, was close that door for you so you know you don't need to knock anymore. What's the secret handshake? I don't know. I don't care. My hands are busy. You know? Yeah, both hands are busy, collective. You got things you're doing. So if you feel like you're juggling a little bit, you might be. And that might be because, yeah, you thought you were going to have this support. You thought you were going to have that support. You find yourself, okay. But with this justice that's arriving, okay, you're going to see how you can balance things more. All right. And for some of you, collective, this just might be about prioritization. Okay. And this might be one of those things where all those people over there and all those people over there, like, oh, well, what about the collective? Right? And then they're throwing you this little hot potato, like you're just, it's like, wait a second. I thought we weren't playing. You hopped off the seesaw years ago and kicked dirt on me, right? To ensure I didn't come back to your playground. And now you want me to juggle your offer with what I already got going on. And it's like, what was Randy Jackson always saying? It's going to be a no from me, dog. Like, good luck with you. Good luck with you. You think Randy Jackson's going out to Fiverr and doing spell work and saying, "Ooh, go against those people that I didn't give the chance"? No. That's wackadoodly doo. You know, most people online that are doing tarot stuff, and this is about the journey of the self. This is about empowering yourself and learning how to do that for yourself, right? It's not about all those other people. Because the reason some of us are in that position, right, is because those other people may have let us down at a certain point in time. And for some of us, collective, that smoking gun, we already have it in writing. The ways that you have it would actually stand up in court, where their libel and slander will not. Not really sure what that one comment's about there, but sounds like somebody might be dealing with a micromanager. Um, Again, that's when you're dealing with somebody who's a micromanager. Guess what? That smoking gun's gonna appear because it's like, you have to CC me on this. Make sure I'm invited to that meeting. So like it limits the schedule. Well, but I have this, so you have to do it at another time. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, I thought I was supposed to do this job, but you're riding on me like I'm some kind of donkey, and you're supposed to be Jesus or something. No, that's a no. That's a no from me, dog. You know what I mean? That's what some of these people thought. You were just their ASS to ride all the way home. Is that a fact? Bah! How's that working out for you? So, collective, it's like they're throwing you this little hot potato, right? You know what you got? Pockets. Put those little potatoes in those pockets and just keep on going and figure it out when you get home. Maybe you get some French fries at the end of the day. What was I reading about the French? There was some. It was some kind of seasoning or something that people put on French fries that's supposed to help with getting microplastics out of the body. Again, some YouTube short that I was watching, I was like, what? But they were showing this picture of like fries, and I'm like, I gotta watch this. You know, I can eat French fries to get healthier. But it wasn't about the potatoes. It was about some kind of the seasoning or topping or something that helps get microplastics out of your body. So that might be relevant for somebody. I'm not sure who. All right. Somebody in the chat, they're talking about their I won't say they're like Damien in The Omen, but you know, they're demon spawn, right? As my one friend used to call her kid, her demon spawn. But sometimes that is collective because it's like they're there to teach us things about ourselves and what we dealt with growing up, right? And here you got the Knight of Wands. What does the Knight of Wands want to do? Knight of Wands wants to be running around, having fun, you know? So, thinking about that in the spirit of youth, okay? You can guide people, but, you know, controlling people, suppressing people, that doesn't really work so well. You know, sometimes we do have to go on our own journeys. We do have to learn our own lessons, and it might be painful to let go. Not saying whatever you're dealing with isn't, you know, serious in nature. I'm not sure. You know, without divulging in that. And please don't necessarily in the chat because I'm not trying to get that kind of information out of anybody. um. So, skip to my loo. You know, you know, and today's culture is very much people want to have everything mapped out, like every day of the week there's something scheduled. You know, it's like your whole life is scheduled. Okay, that is kind of the antithesis of this Page of Wands energy, which is more kind of like being one in nature and listening for those messages of guidance that aren't necessarily scripted by somebody else. Okay, so if you are butting heads with your teenager, remember that. Okay, what they're listening to is you saying, you got to do this, and you got to do that, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. And you might want to stop and say to yourself, did that work for me? And if it didn't or did, you might want to try communicating that as well so they understand, you know? Because I think a lot of times, you know, people get a little emotional, you know, and they don't understand that, you know, you can't stop the horse from galloping. And why would you want to? That's what a horse is supposed to do. Okay. So, you know, if you're trying to direct, if you're trying to, you know, share that intuitive energy, okay? And you could say, look, I know I didn't have the same schooling as you. I know I didn't have the same upbringing as you, but this is what I've learned, and I hope that you can take this forward because I want the best for you, right? Not because I'm going to go on, you know, somebody's going to go on Fiverr and try and do work against you. That is weird. Are there people in this world that will be doing that? But it shouldn't be coming from the inside. No, it should not, right? What's called? What? Ma'am? Yes? The call, what call? It's coming from inside the house. You know what I'm saying? So when you're the one giving those messages, think about how it might be getting received. Think about when you were that age, right? Do you want to listen to everything every adult ever told you? And part of this here, it's like keeping that door open. Whereas, as I was talking about before, the people that are like, well, if you don't do it my way, then I'm shutting all these 20 opportunities off from you. If you don't do it my way, then these 40 or 50 people over here aren't going to ever work with you again. You can do that. And guess what? That kid might never ever come back to your house. Period. Because they'll say, you know what? I don't need that. So, unless you're a parent who's on here and has never made a mistake in their entire lives, then what are you doing watching my channel? Right? I I don't know if you guys have been following the Bunny XO drama with her and her now ex-husband. Anyway, wow, it's crazy. El Diablo card just flipped out. So, yeah, collective, you could be trying to warn somebody that, look, the path you're on, it's not a great one. And I'm going to tell you why. And I hope you take this and understand it. You know what I mean? And I think she started understanding that, and is why, they're now split, right? And especially it sounds like they had issues with fertility and whatnot. But there was one little clip I saw of her. I don't even know if it's a real thing. And she said, you know how AI is these days. But it made sense because she said, he's a reformed felon. She's like, I'm a former SW, and she said, if you came here holding us to a higher standard, we already failed that standard. So why are you acting disappointed now? Kind of thing. But that's just it, collective. When you get into bed with that, when you make that the center of your life, right, some not so great things can happen, right? And that's not saying that you can't go forward and then share and say, hey, look, this isn't going to be helping your situation, but only focusing on this isn't going to work. What you need to be doing, right? Accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, right? How do you turn it around? Because if you're talking to that teenage brain, you're just saying no, no, no. All they hear is no. They're looking for a yes. And over here, they're hearing yes, but it ain't the yes that they need to be hearing about. But they're not going to be hearing that yes with you hammering in their ear either. Gotta have them that space to breathe and develop. Okay? At the same time, what are options? A lot of people, they do these things because they think they have no other options. That Bunny XO girl, maybe she got with that dude because her self-esteem wasn't the best. I mean, I guess he cheated on her early in the relationship and stuff too. I mean, she looks like a freaking Barbie doll. You're gonna cheat on her? What hope do the rest of us have, Jelly Roll? No wonder women are saying, screw that. Christy Nome, anybody? The brunette version? It wasn't good enough for her husband either. Again. What hope do the rest of us have? And y'all are surprised? again, there was another. It was on Bourbon Bougie's channel, and she was going over her the Reddits, different Reddits that she follows, and one of them was like, or I don't even know if it was her. It might have been somebody else's channel. Anyway, it seems like the kind of thing she would cover. Anyway, it was some dude, and he was just having some, epiphany on the beach, right? And he decided to share it on a TikTok. And people were like, yeah, bro. Yeah. You're how old now, just realizing that? Some people was like, me and my girlfriends had this discussion in the fourth grade. Like, just because you didn't realize something didn't mean the rest of the world wasn't going on around operating. Business as usual. Oh, I'm glad you, hey, beach dude, I'm glad you finally caught up to the rest of us now. Anyway. But for some folks, that's how sheltered they are in their reality. Right? So, especially when you're talking about kids, right, or teenagers, young adults, people that are still, growing and forming, if they're able to, go to college or go to a trade school, work in a different environment besides the family business, right? You know what I mean? Experience something else. That's gonna give them that worldview. That like the gal I told you, like, he's like, why go on dates when I can clock into my shift and I see, you know. One time I went to dinner. I took myself out to dinner. It's not like I don't take myself out to dinner, but I was sitting in at the bar area, and I happened to be seated, close to a couple, and boy, oh boy, that was exhausting. And I wasn't trying to participate in their conversation or anything, but just the energy of it and the way they were going back and forth, and it was just, ugh, you know. It's like, boy, you guys probably sound like George and Martha from Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf when you get home. And here I am just going to go home all by myself, back to my dog. Boo hoo. Some people get roped into it thinking that that's what it's supposed to be, right? When it's like, really, they were looking for something else, but it's like, couldn't quite put their finger on it yet, okay? But it's there. They can feel it. They know it exists, right? Okay. So that's that high priestess energy, all right? Collective, if you are a high priestess or identify that way, somebody could have also tried to trap you into some kind of situation, right? Um, Again, but the smoking gun has already been fired. Like it's over for that. So that's kind of, I mean, it's funny that this is an outcome, but it's day late and a dollar short. It's like, oh well, I'm here now. It was like, well, all right, look at that on the bottom of the deck. 10 of Pentacles goes very well with King of Pentacles, doesn't it? Right? Meanwhile, back at the lab, right? I mean, Bruce Wayne could have been gone on with his playboy self, attending fancy parties with the people of Gotham, right? But he's like, you know what? I want to work on something else. Right? He had a whole. The 10 of Pentacles that people saw from Bruce Wayne was not actually his 10 of Pentacles that he valued. Right? Sorry, I was holding that upside down. Anyway. Um, so again, a collective, there could be some of this negative energy trying to get you, especially if you are a masculine, into thinking that what you've created somehow isn't the cool thing or whatever. And it's like, well, you've already experienced being Bruce Wayne, right? You're like, I'm in the Batman stage now. What does Batman have? Cool toys, right? Okay, so for you, maybe it's the right power drill, right? For you, maybe it's the right hot rod, kind of like how Batman has the Batmobile. For you, maybe it's a nice motorcycle like Batman has. Do you know what I'm saying? Trust me, so and so at the local tavern putting a tear in their beer every 30 minutes, they don't have that. They don't. In fact, they don't have either of those things. Why? Because they didn't want to work for it. Because they believed in this. They thought they could just sit there and control everything, and that if they worked in a certain manner, right, that they were going to get that. Kind of like this dude did that's now going to be spending the rest of his life in jail. Imagine instead of investing into spell work, he, I don't know, built a cool playground or obstacle course in the backyard for his kids. In the Philippines, apparently you're like married forever. We don't live in the Philippines. We live in the United States of America where divorce is legal. Henry VIII had an issue with this, and then he decapitated all of his ex-wives, right? But we don't live over in England. We live in the United States where it's illegal to do stuff like that. Some of these people haven't gotten the message yet. The rest of us, little Bruce Wayne types, have. Because in the pale moonlight, we might dance, but we ain't dancing with your dumb ass. I can tell you that right now. Yes, this is a collective message in the chat. You there in the chat having familial issues. I really do hope it gets better. But yeah, sometimes it can be disappointing for us, right? When we think like, oh, we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, right? You never know though how it's going to turn out. And that's just the thing. This wants you to believe that it's going to end up bad, right? But if you fill your life, fill your cup with those positive, blooming thoughts, then you don't have to focus on this so much, do you? All right, y'all. My battery's getting low on this device, so I'm gonna have to close out this reading. But I mean, overall energy, King of Pentacles and Ten of Pentacles. Okay, so you could also, I'm getting a little bit of message here, collective, if you are a masculine. So part of this justice for you could be involving a, because Queen of Swords is often the ex-wife, right? Okay. So this could be one of those things where the ex-wife or ex-partner thought, oh, they're going to be so down and out without me. Okay. And you're like, actually, I've been manifesting some great things for myself. Ah! Yeah, some people don't like that. But when you got to court, the receipt showed, right? The receipt showed you were on the winning side. They wanted to take part of this Ten of Pentacles. But if they're actively working against you, I don't think the judge is going to see that so kindly. You know, some of these alimony, palimony cases, they want money, and it's like, what, to feed their drug habit? To feed their gambling addiction? To feed their sex addiction? Because again, meanwhile, back at the lab, right? Exactly. You so you do have the right to defend yourself, collective. Again, all these libel and slanderers. And they might get a victory here or there, right? That's what makes them, all of a sudden it's like they don't just have 1 foot in, then they got 2 feet in, right? And their hands are already dirty. Oh, oops, your hands are tied by who? Yeah. Might want to look at that fine print. Hot potato, you ever play it? So the next time somebody comes in with, oh, I got something juicy for you. Oh, yeah? What do they think you're going to do with that information? Right? Yeah, but they collect pentacles. I know. They got like 10 of them over there. Yeah, okay. That doesn't mean they want to juggle yours. All right, you guys. I'm going to give you some angels here. Angel cards. To wrap up this summer solstice reading. In the United States, it's also Father's Day. Okay. You know, Betty Davis has a great RBF, you know. Which, you know, I should have learned that I had long ago because I have a downturned, natural, smile and whatnot. Anyway. That's another thing. If you were in the industry, people would be like, smile, smile. You know, people would be after you all day for that. Smile, smile. It's like, yeah, I didn't know back then I could have just said, I have RBF. You know? Or what's that other one, which is kind of interesting? I had never really heard of it until they, it's like face Tourette's, you know? But can you imagine you're working somewhere and you're just like, looking at somebody. You're like, oh, I got that, that face Tourette's. Not really, but you know what I mean. Goddess. Goddess Kuan Yin. I did a whole read on her and Commander Ashtar maybe about a month or so ago. So if you scroll down on the live tab, you'll see this, and I read from the guidebook about her. Okay. Kindness, compassion, and divine mercy. So again, summer solstice, maybe it's the time when you're dressing more summery, you're, maybe putting a flower in your hair, maybe you're a masculine, getting flowers for a feminine, or, to be having your house, or planting around, things of that nature. Okay. So that's part of this justice too. Collective is giving yourself the compassion and kindness that others did not. The others didn't think for some reason that you deserved, but you come to find out that you're uh, happier without them because they were in that withholding space. It's like, yeah, I don't. Oh, yeah, I don't need to go knock on that door. They already told me they hated me. Not only told me, but they showed me. Right? You ever get one of those messages, the who do you think you are message? And it's like, wow, y'all have some real strong opinions about yourselves and me, considering you don't really know me, but okay, I understand now. We don't have to play on the same playground. And I don't want to. Archangel Shamuel, unconditional love, heart healing, and self love. Again, that Nine of Cups thing. It's like having love for yourself, being like, you know what? They don't like it. Poo poo on them. That's their problem. I was talking to somebody about somebody who had gotten into a relationship with, and I was, I don't know if it's really like some kind of whatever match, and I was like, yeah, but he went along with it, and that's his problem. You can't control what other people are doing, collective. They wanted to jump into that. Okay. That's what you got now. If you ever get out of that, maybe I'll see you on the other side. Archangel Raziel, mysteries, secrets, and protected knowledge. So, collective, just your aura alone, the way you carry yourself, all these things, people might want to know your secret. They might want to understand your knowledge. And it's like you're making it look easy, and some people resent that, and then they say, oh well, this has to be a trick. They're really doing something else, and that's where that libel and slander comes out, right? And it's like, you know what, if you don't know what it is, then don't worry about it. How is that affecting you, really? Just let people be, and don't be like the guy who went on Fiverr to solicit the end of his family, which unfortunately worked for him, but also worked in a way that put him behind bars for the rest of his life. Toth, wisdom, time, writing, and Akashic records here. Okay, so you might be studious, again, collective, with this smoking gun here and the receipts that I was talking about, and he's holding a book, a journal, so you might be reading about something, you might be going over the paperwork, you might be seeing where things don't add up. Okay. um and if not, you are the one writing it down, right? And there will be people that will say, oh, well, but it's not true because so and so wrote it. Oh, is that right? Who are you, God? Last time I checked, you're not. And Jesus has been dead for a long time. So you can take that holier than thou shit and did you just hear that in the movie? She yelled, "Get out." Because there's people that want to come in and guilt you and guilt you and guilt you. And it's like, dude, I don't. We're working on the next chapter. You know, maybe you need to make like a Jehovah's Witness and go to the next house and knock on their door. And tell them the good news. Okay. All right. You know, just because somebody adorns themselves in that way doesn't make them the authority. Okay. Okay. Patches, I'm depending on your son. I love that song. Anyway, Archangel Sandalphon. Okay. Earth Star, answered prayers and music. Okay. So you might be guided to pray more, listen to some music, to receive that guidance, spend more time within the earth. Okay. Which is what I was getting with this Page of Wands energy here. You know, just allowing yourself to exist and to look around and say, hey, this is kind of cool. Instead of, what do you have on the back burner? How come you're not working right now? You need to be doing this. You need to be doing that. That might not be the approach you want to take. All right, this is the third card, hopefully. The last one that falls out like this, because it's hard for me to reach. Okay, look at that. Archangel Michael. Okay, right. Rolling with my homies. Archangel Michael. That's right, we roll along. We roll along. We roll along. East Coast family. West Coast family. Oh boy, I've been watching you. If I let this go. Alright, okay. You know what I mean? Like, Archangel Michael's pretty hip. Alright? It's pretty hip to what's going on. I mean, the dude's got tats. Truth, protection, and clarity. Yeah, and look, oh my god. The look on his face right now, it's like when I was like, you're surprised? I'm not. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. It's like, you already knew. You already knew what the justice was. You're just waiting for the long arm of the law to catch up. Right? Oh, we're going to get away with it. They don't know what we're doing. Oh, yeah? And here's the thing, collective. Some of these people, if that law hasn't come up on them yet, the spirit world is. The street world will. Just like that guy already got thrown in jail. Well, you don't look like an angel. Yeah, okay, well, you know what? If they spoke in the original angel language, nobody would understand. But if you got somebody named Michael walking around that's telling you, you better watch out or I'm going to bust out a can of whoop ass, I think in today's society they would understand what that means. And for some people, collective, that involves their mouths are going to be shut. They're going to be speechless. They will have no words for that moment. They will be verklempt. Be like, oh, oh, Archangel Michael's on collective side right now? Well, you know, just for just this little thing. Which for you collective might turn out to be a big thing. Which might turn out to be the whole dang bat cave, right? Hmm? Hmm? I don't know about you, but I like it. Right? Let's go to the bat cave. Okay. Archangel Ariel, environment abundance, guardian of the earth. Okay. Right. Because if Archangel Michael ain't getting them from above, Ariel's going to be there on her horse, like, with the last. Yeah! You ever been to the rodeo? You ever see him tie up a calf? This is what I'm saying. Some of these people, they're going to find themselves all wrapped up. And they're going to be like, what just happened? Like they were the calf at the rodeo. Okay? Because they thought you were going to be the donkey that they were going to ride to the rodeo, right? Right? Then they're going to get to the parking lot and they'll be like, my ass is gone. Yeah, it is. All right, y'all. That is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this Sunday afternoon reading. I think I'm going to try and keep it to at least at minimum throughout the rest of the summer to do Sundays. My schedule's kind of wonky during the summer, so you know it's like there's just more weather to deal with that it's like I don't know that I can be on here as much as I have been previously. Okay, so if you're curious about the schedule, and also I don't really do specific sign readings unless I am guided to or it comes out in the reading. Okay, but today again, Libra and Aquarius, as well as Queen of Swords, you know, including Gemini here, came out today. Also, Cappies and Taurus and Virgo with the King of Pentacles here. Okay, so you know, Cappies are ones, you know, they're very much, you know, similar to Aquarius in the terms of, you know, kind of minding their own business a little bit, just focused on their money and things of that nature. You know what I mean? Not really wanting to get involved in the drama, realizing that that's somebody else's drama. So, collective, as people come towards you, remember to give yourself that compassion and realize that you're not everybody else's fixer, right? You're here trying to make it just like everybody else is. Somebody once said that to me. They're like, we're all trying to make it, and I thought, yeah, me too. You know what I mean? Like, how am I any different than whoever? And some people, they think that, like, you're impacting them when really they're the ones out there saying and doing, and it's like they're doing it to themselves. What was that song? You do it to yourself, yes you. And that's what really hurts. You do it to yourself. Is that Urge Overkill? I can't remember. Anyway. Until the next time, collective, please do like the video. Remember, you do not have to be a subscriber in order to like the video. Thank you for all of you who have already liked the video, all 8 of you so far. Sometimes, though, when it posts, it's like the stats I see right after the video ends, and then when I check back, it's like the views don't match or the likes don't match, and then they will later. So something wonky in the YouTube programming, and I don't know why that is, but I know I'm not the only person that makes videos where that occurs. So, collective, if that's something you're doing online, and you see that, like, oh, I thought I had more likes on that, or I thought I had, don't stop because of that. That is a bug that's out there. That could be one of these things where it's libel and slander. That could be one of these things like this guy was going on Fiverr and hiring people. Because there are people who will do that, and they will go and act as bots, essentially, to jam up people's channels, to try and get, shadow bans enacted. When you see it, I would report it when you can, and use the methods available to you, especially through the different technology providers, because I think that is, they're the ones that have the liability there, honestly. So, but that's a chance you take. There's a lot of conversation out there about, people getting canceled and all these things like that. That's not necessarily a new phenomenon. I mean, look at the Amish. If you don't follow the Amish way, right, they're gonna shun you. Shunning happens in other communities as well. All right, but where you're going, collective, okay, is not about lack. It's about abundance, okay? And helping to feed into that abundance in the way that you've been blessed to do, all right? Which, may not be the same as whatever community that you're in. It might not be from these 20 businesses that already said no. It might not be for these 40, 50 people that would rather see you drop dead, right? you know. Are you going to keep knocking on that door trying to convince them, but I'm a good person, really? How'd that work for Jesus? Just saying. You might want to do something else. Not under their watchful eye. Okay? Because what they're doing ain't going to end them in any world of good. And they're going to have to learn their own lessons, just like that dude that enlisted people on Fiverr to go against his family. And now he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail away from his children.